Welcome to Dynamo's Dozen, the podcast that we bring you each and every single week, where we talk about whatever may be on our minds, from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh socks and jocks, and everything in between, never forgetting the talk. But today, once again, we are mainly here to talk about pro wrestling. But before we go anywhere, you know what to do. You've got the drill at this point. It's been a long time. You are our friends. We are your friends. So please show us your friendship and like and subscribe to the show. Make sure you smash the shit out of both of those buttons. And most importantly, as well, let us know your thoughts and opinions, whether you agree, disagree. And we've had a lot of great feedback through all the socials over the last couple of weeks with the last couple of shows we've done. So we thank you for that. We are, of course, available on social media on Facebook at Dynamo's Dozen. We're on Instagram at Dynamo's Dozen. And of course, we're on Twitter at Dynamo's Dozen. So without further ado, let's get straight into me, your host, Dina Dynamo Kelly, and of course, your co-host and my co-host, the shopkeeper, the man with the plan, Niall. Welcome to the show. Another week and
Cheers,
many
pal.
more stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty going on in the wrestling world at the moment. This is going to be a fairly packed show. We've got plenty to talk about, and we've got some nice
We
little
sure
memories
do.
to delve back into. And there's some extremely notable birthdays this week as well. So interesting.
Great feedback, by the way. I must say, Niall, on your idea for the throwbacks. It's this week in wrestling, and the birthdays. They're actually quite fun for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
I'd say with the news side of things, there's plenty of people that we're going to talk about today that would probably love to hide behind that bush in the background there, beside the Macho King, and hope that they weren't seen. And I think that's a perfect segue into the crazy world. I was about to say the crazy and wonderful world, but I think this week it's just going to be the crazy world of all elite wrestling and one Tony Khan, because I think we'll start with a certain quote today that you're going to share on screen now, and we're going to credit um Sports Key this. So you can all see it clearly there. And for those of you that need the benefit of audio, I'm going to read this out. Tony Khan has been quoted today as saying in the last 9 hours, so it's very recent, "We're running a lot of great shows around the Northeast. It's so many great wrestling markets in one geographic region. I'll say it, the real crown jewel of wrestling markets, but not some BS overseas in Saudi Arabia." So I will go on a limb here and say that this is a needless shot fired from a man who is quite clearly feeling the pressure now.
Yeah, I think for a man who has so many problems himself in house, to be worrying about what he perceives as the competition is doing is a little
Yeah.
bit strange, because since Vince kind of exited the building and Hunter has taken over, we've seen a massive upsurge in WWE at the moment in terms of quality and structure and the way things all fit together and all these kind of things. And on the flip side of that, in AEW, the volcano has just erupted. It's running down the side of the mountain. And our friend is worried about what WWE are doing in Saudi Arabia, which we know is a show that's outside of the wrestling landscape. They just put it on there every year, but it's a huge money earner for them and stuff like that.
Helps
Um,
pay the bills, yeah.
and I suppose if you want to survive in this wrestling business, as we've seen with previous promotions and stuff like that, you kind of have to go out there and see a bit of the world, don't you? You have to go and see your audience, and your audience has to be a little bit bigger than maybe 150 or a 200 square mile from the Jaguars stadium, let's say. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think this is needless. Um, I think he needs to really check himself, and I think what's happening there at the moment, it sounds like he's sailing his own ship, and he's been badly advised, I would say. He has a plethora of people there who could advise him, and whoever's advising him to put this kind of garbage out, um, needs to cop on.
Yep. I concur with everything. So I suppose that leads us nicely into the news that we've heard over the last week and a half or so, which is also laughable. And again, who is advising these people? I mean, it seems to be that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, in the sense that certain people don't take advice from people in the know, and if it starts from the top, it quite clearly dripples down. AEW launch an investigation into the CM Punk Elite bust up, which we've heard Jim Cornette so eloquently put it, is just completely laughable. What's the investigation? Six lads knocked on one lad's dressing room after he's had a match. I guess from everything that we're hearing, trying to act the hard lads. And albeit three of these are EVPs. I mean, I've never heard of EVPs in any company going and knocking on an employee's door and acting this way. So it's very strange to me. And there's an investigation being done.
Yeah, I think the problem you have with this, there's a couple of layers to this. One is be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. And if you're going to call guys out in a media scrum, guys aren't going to be too happy, and they're going to walk down the corridor, kick the door open, and go, right, let's be having you if that's what you want and that's what you ask for. So that's one side of it. The other side of it, I suppose,
which I think, which we will also add. I think one CM Punk has no problem with that, and quite clearly came out the better end of it too. So obviously, it's
yeah. I think it's just I suppose the difficulty with it is in terms of this investigation is if we park it at the moment and we say it's not a work within the work for the workers, and that it's real world. If it's real world, this could lead to litigation and lawsuits and stuff like that, because basically,
for sure,
people were assaulted, and obviously the promotion has a role in this in terms of the safety of its employees. The stadium would have a role in that as well. Security would have a role in that. There's a lot of people here. If this comes out the wrong way at the back end, could find themselves in a number of lawsuits or litigation over this. But it's we seen it coming, didn't we? We kind of predicted it. If you go back to even our four Podman days when Jay and Joe and all were on, and we spoke about CM Punk going into AEW, we didn't necessarily.
Jay and yourself in particular, I'll give you credit for that.
Yeah, we certainly didn't believe for a minute that this was going to go as smooth as people thought, and whether it was the right place for him to be and all and stuff like that. And then you listen to the mixed messages that come out even in the scrum, where, you know, he came into AEW, big palaver, stuff like that, boost the ratings, massive, CM Punk, huge, comes in and says, I'm here to help those younger talent and stuff like that, and work with all that younger talent to progress them and bring them up and all that kind of stuff. And then you get the media scrum, and he says, I'm sick of wrestling these young pricks. And you just go, okay, fair enough. Make up your mind.
I can probably put a bit of context and sympathize in this, because I'm going to play the devil's advocate for CM Punk here, and feel free to play devil's advocate for the
elite, as hard as it is.
Yeah, which I don't think you're going to find it easy.
No.
I think CM Punk probably had every intention of doing that. I think, you know, we saw it very early on with Darby Allin. Darby Allin was one guy, and still is one guy that actually takes advice. When you're someone like CM Punk, who is a veteran now at this stage, trying to come in and work with these guys, you know, who we knew back then were going to be difficult pricks because they don't take advice from anyone, and do kind of sail their own ship. They even have a banner under the name EVP, you know, that allows them to do so. It was always going to be the case. Hangman Page is the one that I'm a little bit disappointed with in all of this, that has kind of been a little bit naive in the sense of, you know, has all the potential in the world, great look, great body, definitely looked to me that could have been someone like, you know, a modern day Magnum TA, not just in terms of his look, but his athleticism and stuff like that. Magnum, friend of the show, shout out from both me and Niall. But it was always going to go this way, and it would go this way if those boys were in the WWE as well, because people would eventually get fed up of their shit. Cody got fed up with their shit. I've seen Dustin like certain posts that they're being called out for as well. He's obviously fed up with their shit. I'm sure all the veterans are fed up with their shit. So I think it's easy to kind of go with the narrative, because the narrative now from all of the elite nut huggers like Dave Meltzer and Alvarez and all these guys is just that they report what they're told by their friends. You know what I mean? And they're kind of in the clan of defending their friends, because they want to be young and hip and, you know, in with the cool kids, so to speak. Whereas I'm very impressed with the likes of Jericho, who had been like that previously, who has come out and said nothing. You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm going to defend Punk on this one and think, like, look, he's called it out for what it is, and at the end of the day, they're still words. It doesn't give anyone the right to come in and kick your door in with six lads and come in and threaten you, especially while your dog is in there, and also while your mate's wife is in there with a busted knee. I feel like Stone Cold Steve Austin there.
Yeah,
This song goes out
I don't know whether you,
to
I don't know whether you fully believe in what you're saying there. I think if me and you are down a corridor in a room and someone called us out in a media scrum, I think me and you would go down that corridor, wouldn't we? I don't think we'd sit around and look like.
Well, like
You know
I'll
what I
give you
mean?
an example. If it was me, you, and Dazzler, for example, like we'd be down there 100% to ask questions. But at the same time, Punk had no problem answering the questions. That's the point I'm making. But
Absolutely.
if you have the title of EVP, you got to really pick what you are. Are you the worker that's defending your honor? Are you going to be an EVP? Because surely, if you're an EVP and you're of that title, you come in and you go, right, there seems to be an issue here. Can we have a conversation? Or do you sleep on it? Do you sleep on it? Now I know you're gonna fight the lads' corner here, because we have to play devil's advocate, and it's not just going to be a hip piece on either side.
I'm not actually going to fight their corner at all, believe it or not. But I am.
Okay.
There's certain things that we have to speak about. First of all, the rabbit in the headlights that we just spoke about is the man who puts these titles on these people and apportions the power that's afforded to these people, and should know better if he's the man at the head of the table running it. Now, you speak about Punk being a veteran, and Jericho, who you brought up there, who's a veteran. Now, to me, a veteran is someone who surveys that landscape and does exactly what Jericho does, sit in the background and says nothing. And you know why he says nothing?
Yeah.
Because one, it's none of his business. And two, he's been around that shit in previous lifetimes and doesn't need that kind of crap in his life at this stage. But
And
Punk,
on that point, wasn't he the one as well that was the one that quelled it all?
he is the one who would walk into the locker room who you wouldn't want to be having a Barney with. This is the guy who ran up to the gorilla position to face Brock Lesnar when he had to go off Randy Orton, if you remember, a few years ago, when he busted Orton open with those elbows. Jericho was the first guy to wait for Lesnar coming through that gorilla position. So I have no doubt Jericho's more than capable of handling himself and stuff like that. But I think if you look at Jericho's approach is that he's there and he's paid to do his job, and he does his job and does his job very well. And any of that other bullshit that goes on in the locker room, he doesn't care for it. And I think what happened is with Punk, what happened was, I think he got a little bit frustrated with the gaffer, and the gaffer wasn't acting on things that should be done. And I think that's what kind of led to the media scrum. I think it's out
Bad
of
man
frustration.
management. So
Yeah, and it's out of frustration.
yeah,
But this is not the first time we've
that's
seen
fair.
CM Punk get frustrated and blow up and have a meltdown and do all these kind of things and stuff like that. Whereas I would be of the opinion that you go out and you wrestle your match. If you have a problem with what Hangman Page said, you sorted that out. The receipt happened, all that kind of stuff. You go and you do your media scrum. But I don't think, like, I mean, if anyone gone in there is naive to think that these boys in the background don't shit or chat and put stuff out there, as you said, through the various journalistic lines and stuff like that and all. He knew what that was about before he ever went in here. There, he knew what those boys were about. He knew what the structure was. It's just weird that he again puts himself out there to be the guy who has to sort it. He's like Tony Khan's vice president. He's number two in there. And I just don't think that's really, I don't know whether it's his place to fix it. you know what I mean? I think Tony Khan is there. He should be strong enough to fix it, which we know he isn't. And that's just the way it is. But he has people there. And we said it already, even with this quote, even off screen when we were talking. He's been ill advised if people are advising him, or else he's sailing a ship on his own. Now, we know that there's an investigation into this. We know what that investigation is going to produce. We know that Punk has gone home for 6 to 9 months with an injury. And I just, it's the kind of thing. Why does it surprise us? WCW, TNA, all these other promotions have done the exact same thing in the past. It's history repeating itself. And in the meantime, on the other side, they're just getting on with their business and they're growing and they're getting better and better. And then, as you said, he comes out with this quote, wants to attack the other side when the old side is, you don't slag off the ship that's beside you if you're sitting on the Titanic.
100%, man. You make that SOS call.
Yeah, and I just think, I just don't know. I think Punk at times, I think he propels himself into a position through himself and takes on that responsibility. When sometimes I think it would be better to take a step back and go, right.
I gotta,
you know,
I know where you're going with this, and I kind of disagree with you a little bit. Now, it's not, I'm not going to die on this hill with you, but I think for Punk, I think I can see where the frustration comes, because I'd be a lot like that as a human. You know what I mean? You're hearing shots fired, and in fairness, every single podcast in the build up to this was, oh, was he too harsh on Hangman Page by doing what he done? He gave a receipt, like you mentioned, and then there was more writing, and then they were bringing up dirt about a very personal situation with him and Colt Cabana, and all these things fester. And Punk doesn't really put himself out there for podcasts and stuff like that, and doesn't have the medium, I suppose. Well, he could have the medium, but he obviously doesn't trust enough people to do so and do it, fairly and constructively. So I think you were looking at breaking point here. And again, I do agree with you on this point that it comes down to management. That should have been nipped in the bud, where it'd be like, right, you and you, the exact way Vince McMahon done back in the day when you had the Rougeaus and the Bulldogs, you're going to pay for his teeth because you're the fucking aggressor here. You're not going to do anything because blah, blah, blah. And that's it. It's settled. And you respect the boss's final decision. If you want to continue to work under this company, that's what's going to happen. If you don't let the door hit you on the way out. It's very, very simple. So it's a little bit horses for courses on this one, I think. So we're both in agreement. We're both technically saying the same way. I'm just a little bit more sympathetic to Punk on this because I do believe that this was very antagonistic in terms of the writers, and that's why he kind of went after the writers initially.
Yeah, but I mean, this is also the guy who goes out there and says, I don't look at the dirt sheets. I don't read social media. I don't feed into all that stuff.
But when it festers,
he was triggered by it. And in fairness, if you look at the Colt Cabana situation, and I'm not saying in any way he had any part to play in and stuff like that, but is it unreasonable to think that? I don't think it's unreasonable to think it. I don't know whether it's true or false. But from my point of view and your point of view,
what's that?
The story was that he got Cabana taken off AEW and shoved over to Ring of Honor. Right? From my point of view, hearing that, it's not unreasonable for me to believe that could have happened. I'm not saying it did or it didn't. He made it very clear in the scrum that he had no part to play in it. And we can only take
but he came out with facts, you know what I mean?
Well, he came out with his facts. He came out with his facts.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but for me and you sitting on the outside.
But at least he did it in person. And to be fair, Punk's record of telling the truth and standing up and being a man is very, very fucking similar to the Hitman's. You know what I mean? Nobody can ever really hit him with anything once the dust settles. So, look, we could be here all night talking about that. And we have to agree to disagree. Yeah. Not that we're disagreeing. No. Right, the next one we have, which is pretty, and by the way, we've always said before we do continue, we've always wanted AEW to succeed, but my God, there is a huge amount of shit in that back garden that needs to be cleaned up before it's presentable to any potential buyer that you're bringing in. And buyer, as in someone that wants to actually subscribe to that particular product. We're definitely in agreement on that. WWE and AEW stars trade shots on social media.
This was brilliant.
This is something now that you picked out. You love this shit, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And you know
you're
what?
You're that Jericho. You're that Jericho in the background, just going.
It's not that. You know what it is? I love it when guys cross promotion and they have a go off each other. I like that. Even MJF the other day when he was on Helwani, he was asked about Roman Reigns and he goes, "The guy's a stud. I love him." And then Helwani says to him, "Do you watch it?" He says, "Of course I watch it. Why wouldn't I watch it? He's absolutely brilliant." You know what I mean? So I love that stuff where it's kind of a little bit real. And like we all know that they watch it. We're not stupid. So if there's wrestlers there going, "Oh, I don't watch that," you watch it every week and stop lying about it. Everyone watches.
They've always done it though, Niall, haven't they?
Yeah, but this one was a good one. This one broke out between Sheamus, Corbin, and MJF. And for me, MJF is the last guy you want to be having like a Twitter spat with because he's on point. So the boys had posted there was back and forth about the PW list, the PWI list and stuff like that, you know, and they had shots off each other and stuff like that. And then they referred to MJF, "Oh, it's the wearer of scarves." And underneath that, MJF posted a picture of Jericho. Remember, Jericho used to come out with the scarf on in the trunks? He posted a picture of that and he goes, "Your boy," or something like that. It was really, really cool, you know. And then Sheamus, of course, responded with the McGregor line, "Who the fuck is that guy?" kind of thing, you know, and stuff like that. And it went down. There was lots of other stuff in between and stuff like that as well. But that was the kind of a gist of it. The boys were having a spat about the PWI list and stuff like that. And you know, MJF was coming across like, "Why would I give a shit about the PWI list?" kind of thing, you know. But the boys were benchmarking it and stuff like that. And they had a go. But you're not going to win too many social media battles against someone like MJF. The guy, he has gear ready, lined up. They fired out of that gun, you know. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, 100%. Next one you had was WWE reportedly has no interest in bringing back Velveteen Dream, who was arrested twice in August on multiple charges, and then it was revealed that he was arrested for cocaine possession and destroying evidence back in 2021 of November. An arrest was just made public. Now, we don't, you know, this kind of stuff we don't tend to delve into too much, especially when there's, you know,
ongoing
law and
ongoing.
But, what a downfall, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a shame, really. He's a guy I was a real big fan of and stuff like that.
You were a big fan, yeah.
I mean, when you think about when he went through, I think it was Tough Enough for one of those shows that they did when he was your man Patrick. And then out came this Velveteen Dream and he was brilliant, NXT and stuff like that. But he was a breath of fresh air. He was a guy who got consumed by the gimmick and stuff like that and lived it and bred the gimmick and stuff like that. And it is an absolute real shame because at one stage he was one of the hottest things on NXT in terms of talent and stuff like that. When you think of where 100%. He came from to where he arrived at and stuff like that. So it's a shame that it's gone down this road. Look, we hope he gets himself sorted out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
definitely
sees what he can do and stuff like that, because we don't like to see people going down this road and stuff like that. But looking at what's being put out there in terms of the talk and stuff like that, could be a long road back, you know. So, but hopefully,
I'll let you go with the. Oh no, 100%. I mean, look, we never want to see someone suffer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Silence, especially when you're up there and then you're down here. Mental health is still a real issue. But
absolutely,
I'll let you go with the next one actually, because Kerry Von Erich is a favorite of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge Kerry Von Erich fan. Huge Von Erichs fan, to say the least. All that Texas territory was brilliant. But they're producing a film based on Kerry Von Erich, the Iron Claw, they're calling it. Interesting enough, the Iron Claw. But they've cast Jeremy Allen White in the role of Kerry Von Erich. I don't know a huge amount about the guy. I did sort of check out his profile and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he's had a couple of appearances on Law and Order and stuff like that. But I know normally when they're doing these movies anyway, and depending on who the movie's on and stuff, that you're not going to cast in like big name actors and stuff like that unless it's like a Hogan situation or a Hogan or a Macho Man or something big like that. You know what I mean? So
Hogan gets Thor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest with you, Thor with long hair would suit Kerry Von Erich perfectly. Um,
Absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but I look forward to the movie and stuff like that because
Me too.
it's amazing in the media at the moment and stuff like that, and especially in this entertainment area, they're levitating more and more towards these wrestling movies about their lives and stuff like that. Now
Biopics,
it's
yeah.
getting really,
Yeah.
really popular at the moment,
And
stuff
it
like that.
makes sense, Noel, especially when you look at Netflix, like when we look at biopics of people,
Mm,
I know I'm not trying to say, I want to say this wholeheartedly, when you look at like the whole serial killer thing, the way they do, Zac Efron doing Ted Bundy, and now you have the kid from American Horror Story doing the Jeffrey Dahmer, but like biopics in general are very interesting to people, regardless. Like
yeah,
it can relate, and I suppose because of the whole Dark Side of the Ring stuff as well. These lives, this crazy world of pro wrestling, these people's lives can resonate to the casual fan. So
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes, and obviously we'll do a
mm,
review of it
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
once it's out.
yeah,
Um, Blue Meanie, we'll only touch on this in
yeah,
fairness. Blue Meanie believes that a portion of CM Punk's media scrum rant was a work um, with the Gabbana stuff. Hangman Elite a real MJF a work. I tend to agree with that actually. Funny
yeah,
enough, that was actually my line of thinking when I saw that today.
mm,
I think so. I think what happened is Punk actually worked himself into a shoe because he got so angry talking about
yeah,
something that was real life and that was his friend, and because that's
yeah,
something I would do, so I can relate to that. But let us know your thoughts, people, because we talked enough about the
yeah.
Punk stuff. Rumor of WWE possibly honoring Vince McMahon at the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 39, including Chris Benoit. Um, no, I
no,
just added that second part
no,
in.
not quite, not quite. I'd say, um, yeah,
Yeah, what?
this is an interesting one because apparently the story came out there sort of towards the end of last week, and apparently it's Stephanie who's pushing for it. So
Mm.
it's interesting, to say the least. Um,
Do you think this isn't on the script now? But we're known on Dynamo's doesn't to go
segue.
off script. Yeah. Um. Do you think with these three upcoming Vince documentaries that we know, one is the Dark Side of the Ring. We can't obviously relate too much information at the
Mm,
moment, but
yeah,
we do know that there are there is stuff in the works.
yeah.
Um, do you think that that could put a spanner in the works, or do you think that Stephanie and Hunter and WWE would still go ahead with it, even you know?
I think something in me tells me that I think that this might have been part of the deal of stepping away. That they
Me
would
too.
have that
Me
they would
too.
have that they would agree to this. I think. Does he belong in there? 100%. You know what I mean? We
Does
know
any
this.
like who belongs in there more than him?
Yeah, true, and plus the flip side of that as well is there's a number of people in there as well, and not everyone is squeaky clean. There's always something in someone's closet, you know what I mean? But we wouldn't make light of what's going on, and we know there's an ongoing investigation into this payments thing and all that kind
No,
of stuff.
100%, 100%.
But in the reality of it at the moment, I mean, he hasn't committed murder or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No.
He's paid people off for having affairs on the side to be quiet
Well,
and
we're
stuff
not
like
talking. Yeah,
alleged.
we're not talking
You
about
know?
pedophilia here or anything
Yeah,
like that. None of that kind of
yeah,
nasty stuff. We're talking in a lot of sense. You've just made a really good point, and it's kind of the point that Jericho made on who was it? Your man, the True Geordie podcast.
yeah,
Like we're talking about moral issues here. We're not talking about anything illegal. So I
yeah.
would say watch this space
Mm.
on that. It'd be interesting to see how it evolves. Um, Niall, I'm gonna pass this one over to you because one of our favorite wrestlers of all time is making a return to the ring. What have you done, Ric Flair? And it's not Rick.
Ric Flair's opened up this dam, hasn't he? And this dam is about to explode. I read this and everyone knows I'm a huge Ricky Steamboat fan. Everyone's a huge Ricky Steamboat fan. If you're not a huge
If you're
Ricky
not,
Steamboat fan, how do you call yourself a wrestling fan? He has the greatest
yeah,
cross body in the business.
and arm drag.
And arm drag and those double chops to the neck and the chest and everything and all. And he has it all. But apparently he's due to return to the ring soon. And I was kind of torn in two ways about that because we know in recent times he's gone through a lot of stuff and things like that. And I wasn't too sure. But he's scheduled to wrestle at Big Time Wrestling's Return of the Dragon event on Sunday, aptly named November the 27th in Raleigh, North Carolina, fitting place as well, at the Dorton Arena. And the promoter said Ricky Steamboat is one of the greatest all time, absolutely. And we're excited to bring a legend back to the ring. Big Time Wrestling co-owner Steve Perkins said that. He was being interviewed on one of the wrestling podcasts and stuff like that, and that's what he said and stuff like that. I'm kind of excited about it and concerned about it. But look, I love Ricky.
I'm less concerned about Ricky because he kind of does look after himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's smart. I don't think Ricky's gonna try and be like Rick and wrestle an hour. I think we'll see him come in, do a couple of a couple of high spots the way he did, in the Jericho match back in the day.
25, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I'm the same as you. I'm always concerned when I see my heroes. You know what I mean? Like if someone told me, hey, Brett's gonna do one final match, I'll be like, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. No, it's great to hear that, and it'll be wonderful to see him back in the gear as well and stuff like that and all. You know what I mean? And he's like Raleigh, North Carolina feeds into that as well. And Return of the
That's
Dragon.
A spot, yeah.
It's set up lovely and stuff like that and all. No doubt we will see a glorious cross body, maybe for the finish of the match or something
from
like
the top.
Yeah. I would preface this: if you're going to the Dorton Arena, don't bring out that fluid stuff and blow those flames and stuff like that. No, you don't want the place going up or anything like that.
Don't bring the moto.
Yeah, absolutely. But absolutely brilliant to hear that he's coming back. Even if it's for that one last kind of kick-off match. It's a pity. The thing about it is, if we hadn't known he was able to come back and do that, something tells me probably he should have been the Ric Flair, him versus Ric Flair in that final match. But sure, final doesn't mean anything. I did go out, by the way, while I was in Cardiff, and I bought that Ric Flair, the final match figure. But when I was buying it, I was in two minds as well, because I had a feeling I'm probably going to get fucked over on this figure, because there's probably going to be another final match.
It's going to be like the Kiss tour. You know what I mean?
I'd say eventually on that shelf behind me there, I'll have a whole row of Ric Flair final match figures or something like that.
The only man in rock and roll and pro wrestling that has never just put it down as a final tour has been Ozzy Osbourne. Even though I'm still waiting 3 years, and even though I'm like, please don't do it, Ozzy. Yeah. And please don't do it, Sharon. Don't put the man on the road. Yeah. I want to see him, but not that much. Yeah. Where it's going to
see, he's very clever because he calls it like a final tour. So who knows when a tour begins and ends. But with Ric Flair, he calls it the final match, whereas he could have probably called it the final run. And then we might believe it more, you know. But final match,
exactly. One more piece of news.
There's two there. Hulu was there. The Hulu deal is about to expire actually this Saturday. I don't know if you've used Hulu for any of your wrestling viewing and stuff like that. They offer kind of a really, really good service where they offer you it ad free. So your SmackDown is like an hour and 40, an hour 35, an hour 40 minutes. So it's great if you don't want the trawl of 3 hours or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But what they do that at times is a little bit questionable is they condense down, say, the likes of NXT. So they condense it down and pull parts out. So it's only about an hour instead of an hour and a half. But what happens that frustrates fans at times is sometimes they pull out the wrong stuff and they don't, it doesn't kind of flow as a show then when you watch it and stuff like that. Yeah. But the deal's about to expire on Saturday. So if you're a Hulu subscriber, you're going to have to find your wrestling content elsewhere. But there is ongoing talks to put a deal together to continue it. I would expect them to probably continue, I would imagine. They'll come to a happy medium and stuff like that. But for you Hulu subscribers out there, keep an eye on it because you're your service provider may be void of WWE content come Saturday if a deal hasn't been reached. Maybe they might do a short-term deal just to extend it while they trash out a proper deal or something like that.
Yeah.
But just a bit of information there for Hulu subscribers. And then the last one really is a huge one for me. That's kind of gone under the radar, really. Universal is looking to merge with Warner Brothers.
Yes.
Now, when I say merge, I presume, go in there and take over.
Basically, we're buying you and that's it.
Yeah. but the interesting thing about this is you've got WWE on one side and you've got AEW on the other side. So the question is, it's 2024 is what they're talking about. So the question is, what impact will this have on wrestling? In terms of, I mean, you've got the battle of the cans basically then, haven't you? You've got the can and WWE, the Disney side of things.
I was gonna make a funny joke there. You said, what impact will it have on wrestling? AEW will become Impact.
AEWWA or something like that, yeah. And there was talk out there in the internet today that maybe Tony Khan might buy WWE. I don't see that happening.
Never.
But who knows? Who knows?
Well, you can never say never, but
Yeah, but this kind of, when I read this, it kind of brought me back to my WCW days, with the Warner Brothers stuff and the licensing and all.
Time Warner.
Yeah, AOL and stuff like that and all. So yeah, that kind of jogged my memory and stuff like that and all. So it'll be interesting to see how it evolves. The talk is 2024 because obviously these things always take time to trash out with due diligence and business and all that kind of stuff. And especially at this level, these are two huge companies. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what way it goes.
100%. It's that is definitely a case of watch this space and put a pin on it. Yeah. Now we kind of get to the exciting part, and sometimes not exciting part for people, where there's good news, and unfortunately we're paying respects to, peers and wrestlers gone by, but this is your segment, Niall. This is always your segment, so I always like you to go ahead. Although I will say the first one, because everyone knows WCW is my baby, and this is a really cool one that I didn't realize actually. Something that you forget. 1995, obviously this week in wrestling. WWE Raw and WCW Nitro went head to head for the very first time in the now infamous Monday Night War. On Raw, the newly turned heel British Bulldog took on Razor Ramon, and Shawn Michaels defended the Intercontinental title against Psycho Sid. Whilst over on Nitro, Hulk Hogan defeated the World Heavyweight Champion, or he defended it against Lex Luger. And Macho Man Randy Savage faced Scott Norton. So Macho Man was getting a match, whereas in 1994 he wasn't. Jesus Christ, man, that's a throwback, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah, we do pick out. It's interesting the way we do this as well, because sometimes we go back and we look at the week in wrestling, and sometimes it mimics so much of what's going on at the moment. And it's amazing the way, as we say, history and cycles, and they repeat themselves and stuff like that. But it's interesting as well in certain weeks. It's amazing you look at sort of like icons in the business who have passed away, and the week that they passed away was so iconic within their career as well for certain things that they did. So I kind of like to try and piece that together as well, and it works well insofar as, I mean, obviously we've lost some of these guys, which is very sad and stuff like that. But it's amazing the week that we lose them tends to be the week where some moments in their career was quite iconic. So it's an interesting one. Yeah. So.
And it was a pretty, because that was such an iconic moment, and it's the complete opposite of what AEW are trying to almost mimic what WCW had done.
Yeah.
Whereas this was the first kind of shots fired where WCW were like, right now we're gonna actually compete now. We're here to compete. Yeah. So next story is a good one, Niall.
Yeah, it's an interesting one insofar as well it's if you think about the week, we just put up the quote at the start of the show there about how consumed Tony is with WWE, that like he has fire all around him to be put out, and yet he was consumed with what the competition's doing instead of sorting his own backyard.
Crazy.
And like then we
Crazy.
talk
Get your
and
own
then we
house in
talk
order,
about
yeah.
this week where we started the Monday Night Wars, where you know they took this on, and yes, they had success and stuff like that, but in reality they lost. You know what I mean? So like, it's maybe sometimes Tony should go back and look at the week in wrestling and maybe have a little run down through it and
Well,
go there.
considering he's a historian,
Yeah,
you know.
so he should know better. But we'll
Yeah.
run down through some of them anyway. Some of them are quite sad and some of them are interesting.
The next
No,
one is nice, 97.
yeah, no, I'm starting here with 1991.
Go for it.
I don't know if your list is the same as mine, but
That's all good.
1991, Chris Von Erich committed suicide at the age of just 21. And we
Yeah.
remember that from the family's
Dark
documentary
Side of the Ring.
that Kevin did and stuff like that and all. And I look at the Von Erichs, that territory of Fritz and all and everything.
Yeah.
If you're an ECW fan right now, you might want to block your ears and block this one out. 2006, for the first time ever, an ECW card was held in the iconic Madison Square Garden. Now, when I say ECW in New York City, the main event was ECW champion The Big Show defeated Sabu in an Extreme Rules match. Not really ECW for our ECW viewers and stuff like that.
Even that hurts my ears, and I'm not even like the biggest ECW
fan. We probably have to mention we had missed a week and stuff like that, but obviously the week we missed was the week of 9/11 and stuff like that. So obviously our thoughts and prayers, even this further on, still go out to all the families that are still
100%.
affected by that and stuff like that. And all, obviously. But back in '99 on an episode of SmackDown, Vince McMahon. Sorry, I should start. Actually, I went 2001. WWE presented a live edition of SmackDown from the Compaq Center in Houston, Texas. The show was originally supposed to take place 2 days earlier, but was postponed due to the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And if you remember, this was the first time since those terrorist attacks that a group of people were brought together in like an audience or a sporting setting and stuff like that. WWE felt that they should be the people to lead the way in terms of trying to get life back to some sort of normality and stuff like that. Yeah. And if you remember, they all came out. Remember, they were on the stage and you know the national anthem and stuff like that, and they were in tears. And I think The Rock was there and all, and he'd all the American stuff on him and stuff like that, and all, and Vince and everything and stuff like that and all. So they felt a duty that people needed. They needed this. They needed life to kind of somewhat return to normality and not be under that cloud of potential more terrorist attacks and stuff like that. Because if you remember, it was only a short time after it happened and stuff like that, you know. So, yes, go back to 1999 then. On an episode of SmackDown, Vince McMahon defeated Triple H to become the new WWE champion. The win made him the then 54-year-old McMahon the oldest WWE champion in history. He would go on to vacate the title the following Monday. But there you go, just a short one. But as the oldest one. Next one up is we go back to 1981. Ric Flair defeated Dusty Rhodes in Kansas City, Missouri to win his first NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Now, when you think about that, we've just had his final match, and here we are this week, 1981. We're talking about his first ever World Heavyweight Championship. So,
legacy player.
Yeah, here's a real good one for you. 1986, you'll appreciate this. At a WWF Wrestling Challenge taping, Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan formed one of history's most iconic wrestling commentary teams for the first time.
I'd say I remember it well, but I was two. But I remember, I can obviously clearly remember now watching it so many times.
It's worth going back.
The best.
It's worth going back and taking a look at as well. Absolutely the best, but it's worth going back and taking a look at again because the chemistry there was there right out of the traps. Natural. It was absolutely brilliant. 2004, legendary wrestling promoter Jim Barnett passed away at the age of 76. And of course, the follow on from the color and commentary then, 2017, legendary former wrestler, manager, and commentator Bobby the Brain Heenan passed away at the age of 72. And absolutely
one of the darkest days, I think, you know, along with Piper, Owen, and Dynamite. They were ones that got me in the gut.
Yeah, massive loss to the business. Yeah, and even to see him When you seen him at the fan fest and at the signings and stuff like that, to see him
Yeah.
the way he had gone in the face and all and
Yeah.
everything, it was so upsetting. I felt the same actually.
Heartbreaking.
This year I met Lex Luger and we spoke about it on the podcast. I felt the same when I went and met Lex as well. It's just, it's heartbreaking to see it and stuff like that.
It is, especially when you know what they were, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. 84 WWF champion Hulk Hogan lost to Big John Studd in the main event at Madison Square Garden. Studd was accompanied to the ring by, of course, Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was making his WWF debut as a manager. So we got a Bobby Heenan feel to this week and stuff like that and all, you know, which is never a bad thing. Yeah. And I rounded out with a 1980 in the WWF's Madison Square Garden show. Andre the Giant beat Hulk Hogan, something that a lot of people would not realize. Beat Hulk Hogan in the main event via pinfall. So everyone talks about Madison Square Garden and it being Hogan's house and stuff like that and all. Clearly, it wasn't always Hogan's house.
No. Hogan knew when to pull people over.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, he wasn't Hulkamania back then in 1980, but still.
Absolutely. Something that we spoke about today on the WhatsApp group to finish it out with a bit of fun, of course. On this day back in 1987, the album Pile Driver released.
What an album.
Absolutely brilliant. I went back and looked at it again today, and it's absolutely classic. It's tough to still watch it now at 80. That's this long on, but the music it hasn't aged well, but it's still fun when you see the lads on the building site and stuff like that.
The album cover has aged well.
Jimmy Hart and Honky Tonk and Coco and all the boys. It's absolutely brilliant. That's everything I have in terms of the look back. I don't know if you've any more to add to it.
No, we can go through the notable birthdays.
Yeah, notable birthdays. I'm going to start off with one that I hadn't listed that in my own oversight I had missed, but this week is the birthday of the billionaire princess Stephanie McMahon, who turns 46 this week.
Jesus.
46.
That makes you feel old, doesn't it?
Only feels the other day Hunter was bundling her into a car and kidnapping her off to get married to her and stuff like that and all, you know what I mean? So,
when I heard the word bundle, I didn't know where this was going.
That's exactly what it was. If you remember the video, it was classic. Of course, a man we could not mention, 1965, Paul Heyman celebrates his birthday this week.
Fantastic. Best talker in the game.
And 1957, one of my all-time favourites, Road Warrior Hawk, also celebrates his birthday this week. Angelina Love, 1981, celebrates hers. Baron Corbin, 1984.
Same age as me.
And of course, player Teddy Long, 1947. And how could we forget one Adrian Adonis, 1954? Who could forget that match with Roddy Piper? Their hair getting cut the whole lot.
The adorable one.
The adorable one. And what a gimmick it was. And you know, when we talk about Velveteen Dream and living the gimmick and stuff like that, Adrian Adonis, unbelievable. Of course, the Enforcer, 1958, Arn Anderson. And the Hammer, Greg the Hammer Valentine, 1951. That'd be some birthday party, wouldn't it? Arn Anderson one side of the room and Greg the Hammer Valentine the other side. That'd be interesting.
I would be sitting squarely in the middle at the bar, just watching it go.
Absolutely. Sit back and let it all unfold. And we rounded out with one half of Team Extreme, Matt Hardy, 1974. He celebrates his 48th birthday this year.
10 years older than me.
Matt Hardy, 48, yeah. 48. It only feels like the other day he was dressed up and he was opening that King of the Ring door. Now he's 48. Matt Hardy version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, might be up to 6 at this stage.
That's crazy.
But there are notable birthdays for the week. And of course, we would employ to our viewers and subscribers, if we've missed on any birthdays, mention them in the comments. And we've missed of any milestones throughout the years for that week, pop them in the comments as well, because we obviously pick a selection or we'd be here all night. But yeah, there's some that was in there for me. Road Warrior Hawk.
And if you'd like to get in touch with us on any particular week and let us know that it's your birthday and you want to shout out, let us know. We will happily do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's all we've got time for this week. We've literally jam-packed the show into a little less than an hour, which is, it's been a crazy week in wrestling, and I have no doubt next week is going to be the same.
Yeah, I suppose the one thing we did oversee and forget to mention as well, the announcement of the 2 War Games matches at Survivor Series. which is absolutely
Yeah,
massive. But I think what we'll do is we might
I'd
cover
like to
some of that
talk.
next
I'd
week.
like to talk. Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit
Yeah,
more in depth about
absolutely.
that because that coincides with what I've been saying,
Yeah,
where H is going to go with this.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
H wants to go there with this. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And the
absolutely.
fact that he's actually putting it in the Survivor Series, I think it's
Yeah.
absolutely genius.
Yeah, and
Um,
one of our friends of the show, close friend of ours as well, the Dazzler, is heading to Survivor Series in Boston in the TD Garden. And I
he
said to him,
is.
an
He
iconic
is.
stadium for an iconic show. Who knows? We might get that Survivor Series style back. And I was chewing the fat with Darren the other day, and I said, would they be brave enough to put Paul Heyman in the cage like they did with JJ Dillon back in the day? Remember that?
Should definitely do it.
Remember that? That would
Should
be
definitely do it.
classic. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love it. No,
because
100%. Dazzler's going to have an absolute ball there.
yeah,
Anyone else that's going to the show, let us know. If you're going over to the States, let us know. And maybe you might see Dazzler there, getting a picture, get a couple of videos as well. And,
bring your
you know,
Dynamos dozen sign.
do
Bring
that.
your
If you're
Dynamos
going
dozen
there,
sign.
we're going to make sure Dazzler is going to do that because you could bring an upper tier and a Dynamos doesn't sign just for the crack. I don't know what the upper tier is going to do for it, but who knows? There's lots of soccer fans out there.
Absolutely.
So, any of our American listeners as well that are traveling down, let us know in the comments. Dazzler is a very, very approachable guy and absolutely gets into the moment as well. So let us know if you're going to be there. And yeah, that's going to be a great show. Really, really looking forward to
Absolutely.
that show.
Great city, stadium filled with history.
Oh,
Absolutely brilliant.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
I have to say I am jealous.
Well, me too. I'm trying to gloss over the fact that I'm jealous, but it is what it is. I'm just jealous. Well, look,
Absolutely.
Joe Biden has told us that the pandemic is over. So if you're vaccinated or you're unvaccinated, you can go there now. Go
Yeah,
and enjoy your tickets, get your flights, and
absolutely.
go and make America great again in your own
Yeah,
way.
absolutely.
Because WWE doesn't need your help anymore because WWE is great again. I think that's the perfect way to end the show.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. No, it's been a pleasure as always, Niall. No doubt next week we're going to have a lot more to talk about, and we're
Well,
probably not going to hear
if what
from.
we believe is going to happen on Friday night at SmackDown, we're going to have a lot to talk about.
And if
They,
what we're going to believe is going to happen tonight as well with MJF,
we're going to have a lot to talk about.
so
Absolutely. Yeah. So
yeah,
stay
there's a
tuned.
lot,
Stay tuned.
a
Hit that
lot to
notification bell. Hit that notification bell. It's going to be
do
coming at you thick and fast
because
between
we're going
now
to
and
have a lot to
Christmas.
say. We're going to have a lot to say about it all.
Oh,
Um, Listen, been an absolute pleasure.
as
You
always.
may have seen today that I put up a Twitter post that we're going to have 2 shows a week going forward. What that essentially means, just to put context, I wanted to mention that. And we've so many shows in the vault, and Niall's been urging me to do this for a long time. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to throw some of the vault classics of Dynamo's dozen up. So we have 2 shows a week for the moment. Because we always say we talk about everything that's on our mind, and there probably is plenty of stuff we can talk about. There's going to be guests coming on. Magnum TA is going to be coming on talking about the new figure line, which I'm not going to give too much away about it yet because I want him to talk about it because he's very, very, very passionate about it. You can actually own your own Vern Gagne figures. You can own your own Bruiser Brody figure, Kerry Von Erich, with the belts that they held back in the day. I mean, these belts alone in these figure packs are worth the purchase just to have them because they're never going to be made ever again. So we're going to be talking the Magnum.
Well, before you buy any of them, you should buy the Magnum TA one first.
That's the only one you should be buying first. I have to say
Absolutely.
first. We want them to sponsor us. We got to say first.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, 100% Noel. Been absolutely fantastic to have you on once again. And I'm sure we'll figure out the dates. Might get you on with Magnum next weekend as well, if it all fits in with our schedules. We know that you're a busy man. So for all you football fans out there, of course, you know exactly where to find Niall at this stage. It's at the I'll let you do it first. I was going to say at the
Yeah.
Twitter, but
Yeah, it's at the _upper_ tier on Twitter.
because those
Also,
underscores kill me.
and for you Liverpool fans, it's at Session Shankly. Also on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you want to find us, you'll find us out there, the upper tier. We're dropping content nearly on a daily basis, and we have a great show coming up tomorrow night. It's not our Thursday tier talk. We're going to be delving back into the history of Irish football with some iconic moments. We were on the WhatsApp group yesterday with Ian and some of the lads and stuff like that, and we had a great throwback. We were talking about the visit to the Pope by Keno, the Walkinstown roundabout, the film The Van. We'll be talking about lots of stuff, not just direct football, but some of the stuff that spawned out of it and what the country was like back in that time as well. So we'll bring you right back on a time lapse. You'll be in the DeLorean. The year we will start with will probably be 1988, and that's where we're going to go back to with Doc Dazzler himself and me, Marty McFly probably, and we're going to talk all things Irish football.
Tell me, Doctor, where are we going this time?
Speak of the devil. We're going back to the Euro 88. That's where we're starting, Doc. But yeah, that's what we'll be doing tomorrow night on the show, and it should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, this has been your episode of Dynamo's Dozen. For me, Ian Dynamo Kelly, your host, for Niall, the shopkeeper. Until next time, we are over and out.